You're now listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing.
Anything can happen Friday. The art and cultural side of Southeast Asia. Hello and welcome to Durian ASEAN. You're with Gowri here today on our Friday, and of course it's Anything Can Happen Friday. And today we will be having a discussion about the Marvel Galaxy, and I've invited three people over. Actually, just two of them are right here with us in the studio with me, and one of them is joining us all the way from Penang. So let's say hello and good morning to them. First of all, we have Navin from the Comic Fiesta.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, thanks for coming back. It was good to have you the last time as well. We have Terence, journalist from The Star.
Hey,
Hi. And of course we have Sim, who is on Skype, who is joining us all the way from Penang.
Hello,
So,
good morning.
Good morning, and thank you to all three of you for making time to participate in the discussion today. So before we start, maybe a little introduction first to each of you. If you can just tell us your name and what do you do, and also what kind of geek are you? So starting with Navin, maybe.
Okay, I'm Navin from Comic Fiesta. We are an event based in KL I think we've been around for the past 14 years. We are probably the biggest animation comic games event in Malaysia, and I work to do the operation side and make sure the event runs well.
And you're wearing a Star Wars t-shirt.
Yes, I am a Star Wars fan. Been a Star Wars fan since I first saw it.
Okay,
when
so
I was
you
a
must
kid.
be excited about the new movie
I am
coming
very
up.
excited.
All right, and Terence?
Yeah, hi, my name is Terence. I work at the Star full time. I usually do arts and culture, so it's a lot of books, theatre, and all that sort of thing. I'm also, I would say, I'm more of a fantasy geek, you would say. I'm into Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, but also a huge superhero movie fan.
All right, that's awesome. And who's your favorite superhero?
Oh, wow. Okay, I mean, that's a hard choice. Well, I mean, for me, ever since I was a kid, my favorite superhero were always the X-Men.
X-Men, okay.
Yeah, I always, I would watch I think it was 7 p.m. on TV1
Right.
and something like that at that time. And yeah, I liked all them, Gambit and Wolverine
Right.
and Cyclops, the whole gang.
Okay, so we have one from X-Men. And let's ask Sim, what about you? What do you do, and who is your favorite superhero?
Oh, I'm a interior design freelancer, and I won't say I'm a geek, but I'm more of a movie buff.
Okay.
I watch a lot of movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Favorite superhero, Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Okay, you guys want to say anything about that? You're like, ooh.
good choice.
He has like the power of God, so
Mhm.
nothing beats that.
I mean, yeah,
Okay.
in terms of raw ability, very few superheroes can beat Dr. Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was his purpose in the story as this Deus Ex Machina.
Okay, and I want to ask you guys about the whole idea of the Marvel comics and the movies as well. Before that, are you guys only into comics or movies? Which ones? Who's into what?
I do both.
Okay, so you're both. I think Terence mentioned that you're more into the movies, right?
Yeah, but I do read the comics.
You read
off
the
and
comics as well. And Sim is a movie buff. I think he just clarified that. So why are people generally obsessed with superheroes? I think maybe as a kid you needed like an escape, or you liked fantasy stuff. You needed someone to look up to. But why does that carry on even when you're an adult?
I don't know, because to be honest,
Okay.
I've always liked fantasy and sci-fi. I mean, since I was a kid, and it never stopped being a thing for me.
Okay.
Like, I realized that for most kids, when they read young adult novels and all that, they tend towards fantasy or sci-fi, but then they grow out of it. But it just never happened for me.
Okay. And what about Terence?
Well, I think that, most people, why they like superheroes to begin with is because they're just so super cool. I mean, like,
Okay.
they've got all these powers and all. And I think when you're a kid, part of the appeal is like, wishing that you could be like them, like,
Yeah.
you can fly, you
Right.
can save the world and all that sort of thing. And as an adult, I think most people who still like they still like them, but for different reasons. Because
Okay.
I think some people, as they grow up, they can relate more to superheroes on another level. Like when I was a kid, I watched X-Men, and it was mostly like, oh, I wish I could shoot laser beams out of my eyes. But then as I grew older, cause the X-Men are persecuted, they are mutants and no one likes them, and then I realized that sometimes I felt like that. So the appeal is slightly different. I relate to it on a different level.
So I'm curious to know, as you got older, were you disappointed to realize that you couldn't exactly shoot laser out of your eyes?
Yeah, I was a bit, like my friend said, oh, I went for laser surgery on my eyes, and I thought that, oh wow, you're gonna shoot lasers. Sadly, that never did happen.
Okay, what about Sim?
Maybe it's because of their tight costume,
Oh.
The laser superheroes.
I mean, serious. I think it's maybe superhero comics. They ask the question of what if, like what if a man could fly, or what if.
Okay.
Yeah, so that kind of interests people at any point of their life.
Okay, so it's that what if element, and it allows you to be creative as well and to come up with endless possibilities. And I want to talk a bit about Big Bang Theory. Do you guys watch Big Bang Theory? Yes, no?
I've watched a few seasons.
Okay.
I've seen an episode.
And I think
3 episodes.
3 episodes.
Wow.
I think he beat you there.
Yeah. Oh.
And I think Big Bang Theory is one of the movies that actually, as much as there are a lot of criticism, it's one of the shows that made nerds look cool, and it makes you look cool when you know your superheroes, when you know your differences between Star Wars and Star Trek and all. But I want to highlight a bit about Penny here, where she mentioned multiple times that when they're having superhero arguments, that it's just dumb because they don't exist anyway. So why are you guys arguing about something that's not even real, that does not even exist?
It's a fandom thing. It's like why people argue over Twilight or Harry Potter, like who should end up with who and all these kind of things, or even any kind of romance movies, or even like Sherlock, when they have like all these fan pairings, etc. It's just a natural progression of a fandom. When you're invested in these characters, you are invested in their outcomes, so you tend to disagree sometimes with what the direction, even the official storylines take.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that people do it because it's just so much fun. I mean, because I think human beings, we are sort of built-in storytellers. We like to how do you say? We like stories. We like thinking like, oh, what would happen if this happens? Like even when something happens on the news, especially now politics, is like, oh, what if this happened? What if there's this conspiracy? What if he's really doing this and that? So it's sort of the same with superheroes. We know they don't exist, but it's just fun speculating, what would happen.
All right. Do you actually have to know science or to be good in science or physics as it is in order to understand or in order to talk about and have a debate about your favorite superhero?
Not at all.
Not at
I
all.
don't think so.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean a little bit. Like they always talk about parallel universe and whatnot. Like.
But most of their science isn't based on actual science. It's more of like just pseudoscience, because it makes it easier for the audience to engage and to get into it.
Yeah. Also, and then for some superheroes, science goes completely out the window. Like you have people with magic powers and can do all that. So.
And you have like Thor, who is God.
Yeah, exactly. Where the science fit into that.
Yeah, Marvel didn't want to go full magic with their first movie, so they were like, this technology is so advanced, it's indistinguishable from magic kind of route with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Doctor Strange later, because he's going to be he's full known magic. As the huge magic user. So I wonder how they're going to do that.
Okay.
But I thought they did Scarlet Witch, isn't that a chaotic magic kind of character?
Yeah, but if I'm not mistaken, in the movie, didn't they say that they did experiments on her to they changed it because they don't have the rights to mutants and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, they use Loki's mind gem to manipulate into giving the abilities.
Not even allowed to use the word mutant.
Yeah, I think they can't use the word mutant.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And going back to that, I think when it comes to characters like the Hulk, maybe you do need to have a certain understanding about the different rays, like the gamma rays, which he was affected by. And with Spider-Man, you have the radioactive aspect. So you do need a certain working understanding of science
No, because those things don't work that way at all.
Yeah, I don't think so.
but that's the thing, right? In order to know that, you still need to know your science. Like, hey, no, that cannot happen.
I suppose if
Yeah.
if you want to go into it, but I think mostly it's just people. I mean,
Okay.
all these things were done a long time ago before all this research
Okay.
was completed.
Mm.
So they just thought it was cool if you get bitten by a radioactive spider because people didn't know exactly what it would give you.
Yeah, I mean,
That's true.
when I was a kid, I just read Spider-Man for the first time. I mean, I didn't really know what radioactivity, all that sort of thing was. I just like, oh, this thing makes things different. And then, okay, I'm fine with that.
And then
okay.
you can fly.
Yeah, there we
different
go.
buildings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Never thought too much
And
about it.
speaking of that, maybe we can go a little bit into Marvel and DC. If any one of you wanna explain a little bit just about the major differences between the characters or the storyline, the plot, how are those two different?
I don't know if there's any real difference that you can see. I mean, perhaps in the movie universes it's more apparent
Okay.
because Marvel has gone with a very fun, ridiculous kind of thing, while DC is trying to make everything look more serious and gritty.
Okay.
But in the comics, I think both explore very different kind of stories. They both have parallel universes, things, magic happening, huge alien invasions, etc. So it really depends on how each publisher handles each individual storyline that matters in the end.
Yeah. Well, in the past, I'm not sure how true that is now, but they used to say that DC superheroes, they were very a lot of them were very very heroic and very upstanding.
Okay.
Like you had Superman and Wonder Woman, and even though Batman was, I mean, he had a tragic past, but he was this billionaire that lived quite a good lifestyle. Whereas Marvel superheroes, a lot of them had problems of their own, basically. Like Spider-Man, he was balancing being a teenager with his powers. The X-Men were persecuted by society. Daredevil was blind. So I think apart from Thor, all of them had sort of a human frailty that made them.
Actually, Thor was put into a human body for a very long time.
He
Oh
did.
yeah, there. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, but that's true then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the main difference is that DC superheroes are portrayed as gods. They have very 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 high power levels, as you would
Okay.
say it, while the Marvel heroes tend to be more down to earth.
Okay.
Mhm.
And probably be closer
Yeah.
closer
They
human-like
have
qualities.
mortal problems to deal with and all that.
I feel Marvel comics, they are more focused on the characters, the superheroes' personal development, whereas I feel like DC, they are more focused on how does this superhero affects the society around them. I feel like in the Marvel movies, they mostly talk about how they develop their powers, how they slowly learn how to use them. While in the DC movies, they often talk about how this existence of this individual affects the society around them. I mean, that's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. You guys agree with that? You're good with that explanation?
Actually, I kind of agree. Yeah,
Okay.
that does make sense.
But then when we talk about the origins, right? I mean, does it change for both Marvel and DC? Like we know that Spider-Man has been, they're trying to remake it, and they have already remade it with Andrew Garfield. But I guess the background story still remains the same. Like you have the uncle who dies and all,
Yeah.
and with Batman, it's always that he's this rich kid who got orphaned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, important parts of the mythology for the characters remain the same. What's sometimes comics do is that they introduce different characters to take on the mantle,
Okay.
so they have different backstories.
Right.
But inevitably, the original characters keep coming back, either reviving from the dead or something, and keep coming back.
Yeah,
Okay.
they come back in a different fashion
Yeah.
and all
Right.
that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay. And
There's a lot of versions for each character. Spider-Man, some of it is it started off with there's a lot of versions.
Yeah, like for example, now in the comic books, Thor
Yeah.
is a woman and all
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the Batman comics, I think now Commissioner Gordon has become
Yeah.
Batman or something.
Oh, okay.
That's a very good storyline currently going on with Commissioner Gordon as Batman.
Okay, interesting. And I want to ask you guys another question before we go for our break, which is, first of all, which one are you guys more inclined to, Marvel or DC?
Well, that's a close call, but
Uh-huh.
I think because when I was a kid, somehow I was just more exposed to Marvel.
Okay.
So I think, I mean, I like DC also, but Marvel has a special place in my heart. I love the X-Men and, Daredevil and the whole gang.
Okay. What about Navin?
Yeah, it's the same for me. I mean, I would lean more Marvel than DC,
Okay.
but because I think purely because of childhood influences.
Travel influences, meaning?
I mean, I started watching the X-Men as well.
Ah, okay.
Connected with X-Men a lot, and I
Best
think like
TV show.
Spider-Man also when I was very young, it felt more relatable because he was a teenager struggling and everything.
Right. Okay. What about Sim?
I used to watch X-Men, those cartoon series when I'm a kid, but
Like
when
Terence.
I'm older,
Yeah.
yeah, Saturday morning. But as I grow older, I feel like DC movie has more depth. Like Marvel movies are great, but I don't feel anything after I walk out from the cinema. But DC movies gave me something to think about, like the movie Watchmen. So I think DC, their story currently in the movies, DC story has more depth lah. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. And speaking of that, maybe you guys want to tell me who's your favorite, all-time favorite superhero as well, and why? Maybe starting with Navin?
I guess I would go with Batman.
Okay.
Even though I prefer Marvel's characters more, Batman is just this weird guy who is in a team full of like godlike creatures, but he always manages to one-up them. He's actually kind of a Gary Stu character in
Okay.
recent portrayals of comics, but it just makes him special in his own way because he does things that by right he shouldn't be capable of doing, and he's just a normal human
Okay.
being, and that gives something to probably drive me personally. Like if someone can do something against all these odds, perhaps you
Right.
could probably do something too.
But there's always this argument as well that Batman and Iron Man are both just rich, and so they have the money, and so they can build this cool suit and car and
Money is the
technology.
greatest superpower.
Exactly.
The biggest difference
Yeah.
between Iron Man and Batman is
Yeah.
that Batman doesn't rely as much on technology as Iron Man. He does more planning. He plans for a lot of contingencies and backups. So when something happens, he's always prepared. That's Batman. He's always prepared for
Okay.
everything that happens.
And what about Terence? Who's your
Well,
all-time favorite superhero?
Actually, I wanted to say Batman. He's just so cool.
You can
He just,
still
yeah.
say Batman,
Yeah, I
but you
can
have to
still
give
say
us.
Supported Marvel.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, it's true. I mean, I do like Marvel, but there's just something about Batman. I mean, even as a kid, I think because
Yeah.
he was so cool, and he had a great bunch
Very
of villains, and the movies by Christopher Nolan, they did him so well. So I think Navin already has explained the reasons why.
Right.
Like, so I think I'll say another person. I mean, since I said the X-Men just
Yeah.
now, I mean, my favorite member of the X-Men, I don't know if everyone remembers him, but it's Nightcrawler.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Basically. Yeah, he was the blue guy in the second movie who could teleport all over the place. Yeah, I mean, I always thought it was cool because he has cool teleporting powers. And in the comic, he's like, I mean, in the movie, he's like this very serious, emotional character. But in the comic, he's a very fun-loving sort of guy. It's like, he's a nice contrast to all the serious characters. Plus, yeah, I mean, I always wanted to be able to teleport everywhere. So I just love that guy.
And before I ask Sim, right, since both of you like Batman, and maybe you can tell me who's your favorite actor that played Batman.
Huh. Oh, wow.
George Clooney.
Aiyo.
Oh no.
Okay, let's not bring
No,
up Batman
not
and Robin.
even for me.
Yeah,
Oh,
oh,
awful.
okay.
I guess I'll go with Christian Bale.
Okay, Kristen Bale. Terence?
Yeah, actually, I think, well...
Oh,
there's
come
not
on, you're
really
just
that
copying
much.
all of Navin's answers.
Yeah, you always ask him first. It's not bad. I mean, I
Okay.
think he was the best. I mean, I think Michael Keaton did quite a good job.
Uh-huh.
Also.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he did quite well. Let's see. And part of me is still fond of the old Adam West.
Adam West.
Batman.
Okay.
I mean,
Right.
it's very different, but he was funny. I liked him also.
Okay, so let's ask Sim now. Who's your all-time favorite superhero and why? And don't say Batman.
No, I won't. But
Become the
feel
Batman
like
show.
when I was younger, I relate more to the villains than the heroes.
Ah, okay.
I feel compassionate for Harley Quinn's character. Like,
Okay.
Ooh.
yeah. So to be honest, until now, I still, she's still my favorite character. Like,
Right.
Harley Quinn. Yeah.
Okay, so
It's
you must
good.
be excited for Suicide Squad then.
Yes, very. I'm like,
Okay.
so looking forward.
You want to say something?
Oh, no.
Okay, so I think we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we will talk more about the recent movies from Marvel, and I guess hear some comments about it.
You're now listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing.
Anything can happen Friday. The art and cultural side of Southeast Asia. Hello and welcome back to Durian ASEAN. You're still with Gowri here on our Anything Can Happen Friday, and of course I have three guys here with me discussing the Marvel Galaxy. And earlier we had a lot of discussion about your favorite superheroes and different actors. And for now, let's move on to the recent Marvel movies, specifically Avengers, Ant-Man, and also Fantastic Four, which I think a lot of people didn't watch because of the bad reviews.
For good reason.
Oh well. So maybe we can start with Avengers. What did you guys think of it? Did you watch the first one? How did it compare to the second one? How was the storyline of the movie?
Well, for me, I really enjoyed the first Avengers. I mean, it was just wow. I mean, like, because, I think before this, it had never been done before. You had all these superheroes in their own movies, and then, I mean, in the comics, they had done it so many times. They team up against somebody, but to see it in the movie, to have all of them coming together, battle the foe, and it's Loki, one of the best villains, I thought it was great. The second Avengers, because, well, the first Avengers, it was new. You'd never seen it before.
Yeah.
So there was this whole novelty, wow thing. So the second one, you'd already seen it happen before.
Yeah.
So obviously, the appeal wasn't as great as the first. And I thought it was alright, but it was a bit, for me, I felt it was a bit overstuffed. I felt that, well, there are so many characters.
Yeah.
Each of them had their own storyline. And then, like, I feel that, some of it was a bit too many things crammed
Going
into
on
it.
at the same time.
Like, for example, Thor suddenly had this magical pool appear out of nowhere, which they never really talked about before. So, in that case, I was still entertained, but I felt it could have been a lot better, the second Avengers.
And Navin, you wanna
Yeah, I agree with his assessment, but I actually prefer the second movie over the first.
Oh, really?
Because they actually delve more into the characters. Because in the first movie, everyone just kind of got together. You didn't know much about them. You didn't see them, like, working together as a team much, except at the end. So the second team really went into that and explored different characters. But from what I've heard, that Marvel's interference into the actual movie production itself mandated certain scenes like the Thor's pool and all that to reference future movies like the Thor's Ragnarok. So that kind of put a damper into the whole storyline.
Right. And Sim, you wanna add on? What did you think of the second movie?
Both movies, I feel they are watchable. I was entertained, but I feel like they are empty, shiny shell. I don't feel like they have a soul in it. Actually, the first movie, I feel like I'm just watching a comedy because it's like joke after joke, puns and puns. And I don't know. It's like, I feel like I'm watching Transformer. Like, I don't know.
Like, wasn't that bad?
What? That's an insult, man. Come on.
It was enjoyable, but I won't put it in the list of top 10 movies ever made in lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it in my top 10 either, but I was very entertained. I just I came to watch, superheroes beat up supervillains, and they did that very well.
Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with the movie just being entertaining? That's perfectly fine. Especially when a lot of movies fail to be entertaining.
That's true.
Yeah, true, okay. But I don't know. Maybe I was expecting
not for you, though. And speaking of Avengers, maybe I want to ask Navin, because you said you're more into the comics equally as well. How was the story? Was it changed too much because of the different rights by the studios? How was it?
You're referring to which
The second one.
Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Age of Ultron in the comic books is a very, very, very different story.
Okay.
I don't think it's because of the rights issue.
Mm-hmm.
The actual Age of Ultron comic story itself isn't really very good. So I think
Okay.
they just took the name and the branding and decided to tell their own
Version.
Ultron story. This is more of Ultron's creation story.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the Age of Ultron in the comics is more of a much later story in his history.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, like for example, in the movie, it's Tony Stark that creates Ultron, whereas if I'm not mistaken, in the comics, it's Hank Pym that
Yeah, Hank
creates
Pym.
him, is it? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you know the guy from Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
Yeah, but
So-
Hank Pym
Right.
wasn't introduced yet, so they had to
Yeah.
use Tony Stark.
Okay.
Yeah, so they made a lot of changes and all that.
So speaking of Hank Pym, let's move on to Ant-Man. Have you guys all seen Ant-Man
Yes.
as well?
Yes.
And what are your thoughts about Ant-Man?
I liked it. It was very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
It showed a different side of things. Like I think one good thing about Marvel is that they don't just make their movies superhero movies. They base it on a different concept. Like Captain America, the first Avenger, was a period World War II movie.
Yeah.
And Thor is like this science fantasy kind of thing. And Ant-Man went with the heist theme, like breaking into something, stealing things. So I think they did it pretty well. They also introduced new things for us
Right.
to look out to, like the quantum world and what's there, and also
the
tied
Wasp
it in,
as well towards
Yeah.
the end.
and also tied it into the Avengers and everything.
Okay. Terence, you
Yeah,
wanna-
I mean, I have to admit, I was a little bit skeptical about Ant-Man. I was like, okay, he can turn small and he can talk to ants. I mean, that's
I
very
think
handy to
a
save
lot
the
of people
world.
were skeptical about
Yeah,
that as
but
well.
I was pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed it, and I was like, okay, talking to ants is actually pretty cool. I mean, I like that it wasn't, such a like he said, it was like a
Okay.
heist movie, and it was just a lot of fun. The only thing I didn't like about the movie was Evangeline's hairstyle. I don't know what they were thinking, who the stylist was, but other than that, it was just great.
Okay, what about Sim?
Again, it's entertaining. But,
Maybe this guy just doesn't like jokes.
You want serious,
thing is-
thought-provoking?
Just action.
Oh, okay. Because I feel like most Marvel movies, the problem is they don't have a very memorable villain.
Yes, that's true.
That's right, actually, I agree.
Everyone is cheering, yay, Ant-Man, Ant-Man, but nobody is cheering for like Yellow Jacket, Like
Yeah.
you watch DC movie, they come out, they'll be like Bane, or Joker. But
Yeah.
people come out from Marvel movies, like I don't even remember who's the Thor 2 villain.
Yeah, he was very forgetful.
He was so forgetful.
Yeah. I feel that Marvel, unfortunately, they lost two of their best villains to other studios. They lost Doctor Doom and Magneto to, those were, I think, the two best. So I think the only really memorable Marvel villain, I think, is Loki. In the movies,
Yeah.
I mean.
And
Loki-
Thanos, since it's been built up pretty well so far, like this
Loki
overpowering
and
villain.
Magneto, I think.
Yeah. I thought the Red Skull was great also. I really like the Red Skull, but I don't think he's coming back. So, from Captain America.
Before you reminded me about Red Skull, I actually almost forgotten.
He
about
was great! Yeah.
I don't think so. It could have been done much better.
Hugo's acting was good,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Hugo Weaving, he's great in it as anyone.
I mean, even James Spader and Ultron, you can see all that mannerisms coming through, but they just don't devote enough time to develop the
Right.
villain.
I
Yes,
thought he
yes.
was introduced very abruptly also, like, he just comes out of the blue, that sort of thing.
And speaking of Ant-Man, he is supposed to be part of the Avengers as well, but do you see that happening in the movies? Could that work?
Actually, they already hinted that he will be joining the
okay.
Avengers in Captain America Civil War.
Yeah, he's appearing also. Yeah.
He was the leader, right, in the comic? I'm not
No, he was. I don't
He
think,
was one of the original
yeah,
Avengers.
he was
in
he was one of the founders, but I think he did lead the team at some point, but he wasn't famous for being a leader. When he
Yeah.
did lead, he probably screwed up a lot.
Yeah, and that was Hank Pym,
Yeah,
not
Hank
this
Pym,
new
yeah.
guy, not this Scott Lang
Okay.
fella. Yeah.
And I remember in the comic he could grow into large size and
Yeah.
not just
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, Yellow Jacket was also Hank Pym. Yellow Jacket and Giant Man. That's when he grew bigger, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Oh.
something.
He reversed his formula to make
It's
himself
beam
bigger.
particles.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's move on to the final one, which is Fantastic Four. I think a lot of people did watch it because of the reviews
Not
itself.
very fantastic.
No.
Yeah.
Not fantastic. So what went wrong with Fantastic Four?
Doom, Doctor Doom, they butchered that character.
Okay, yeah, maybe it's not really fair for me to comment because I didn't really see it, but from what I heard, the Fantastic Four, as we talked earlier, it's supposed to be a very like bright and like it's a very crazy adventure sort of thing, and they made it like really dark and twisted, and so the tone did not match the story. That's what I heard. Then I
Okay.
heard there was a lot of director interference, and so that's probably where it all went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Director interference. I don't think a director can interfere anymore. I mean, he's the one making the movie.
Oh, sorry.
I think he meant studio.
Studio interference.
right.
Yeah.
And that's this scene where Kate Mara is typing the keyboard, and it's the most fake way of typing the keyboard I've ever
dear.
seen.
So it's the acting as well, not just the story and the characters.
Just the keyboard part.
Okay,
I'm
but
just thinking.
I mean,
Alright.
from what I've heard,
Yeah.
because I haven't watched the movie, I have
Yeah.
to put a disclaimer there as well.
Sure.
From what I heard, it's like a lot of the characterizations of the characters were really, really badly done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is one tweet that I saw. The Thing has a very cute catchphrase. It's called "It's clobbering time" when he wants to beat up someone.
Okay.
Oh.
How it's introduced in this movie is, this is what Ben Grimm's older abusive brother says to him when he beats him up.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
So it's supposed to be a fun thing, and they made it into this dark trauma.
Yeah,
for
it's
no
like
reason.
it's like
Abuse.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether he's so traumatized that when he sees someone else, he says
Right.
it's clobbering time. Like he's being abusive as well. It gives the wrong kind of.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because when he says it, it's
It's
supposed to be like a
heroic.
like a triumphant, like look what I
Yeah.
can do, and why did they do that?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, I have a question for you actually. So
Marvel.
was Kate Mara better or Jessica Alba better?
Both was quite awful. I think
Oh, dear.
they haven't done a very good Fantastic Four movie.
I think he mentioned earlier about the tight suits. You must have missed it, Terence.
Yes.
Anyone in a tight suit works fine.
Yes, tight suits.
But yeah, since you mentioned that, comparing it to the previous movie, I know you guys haven't seen it, but what do you think was good about that movie that probably didn't quite translate into this one?
You mean the previous
Fantastic
Four, is it?
Four, yes.
Well, I thought Michael Chiklis was actually pretty
Yeah.
good as the Thing. I mean, like, he the personality and everything, he matched it quite well. And the second one, I thought Lawrence Fishburne was really good as the Silver Surfer.
Lawrence Fishburne was a Silver Surfer.
Wasn't
I didn't
he?
know.
I think
I
he
didn't know
was.
it was so like.
I think so. Yeah, I think it was the voice. I could be wrong, but I do recall it was Lawrence Fishburne.
I mean, the one good thing, like in retrospect, is that at least the first Fantastic Four movie,
Mm-hmm.
embraced the ridiculousness a bit. At least it was more fun. At least from what I can gather, it's a bit more watchable.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And at least it gave us Chris Evans, who became Captain America.
Oh.
Yeah, he's so I bet all
Hey,
the
that
people.
should have been my line.
So all the people who probably complain about the old movie,
Yeah.
after seeing this, I think,
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So-
like a masterpiece
yeah.
compared to this. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're gonna take another short break, and when we come back, we will talk about the upcoming movies from Marvel.
You're now listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing.
Anything can happen Friday. The art and cultural side of Southeast Asia. Hello and welcome back to Durian ASEAN. You're still with Gowri here, and I'm with Navin, Terence, and Sim here with me in the studio to discuss Marvel and a little bit about DC as well. So for this last part of the discussion, I want to ask you guys about some of the upcoming movies, Marvel movies, or even DC if you want to mention. And which one are you looking forward to the most? Maybe I'll ask Terence first, because otherwise
Wow.
he will say you're always asking Navin.
Yeah. Well, I am sort of looking forward to Civil War,
Okay.
mostly because, it's like, from what I heard, it's like almost every superhero from the Marvel universe is going to appear at some point. So I think it's just going to be cool, seeing
It's
two
like Avengers
sides.
3.
Yeah.
Like in Avengers 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
Right.
true. It's like, we've seen like all these heroes versus another bunch of heroes.
Okay.
So I guess I'm looking forward to that.
Mhm.
I'm also looking forward to Doctor Strange. And I'm also very curious to see how Suicide Squad is going to turn out. I like the concept. yeah, villains and all that.
Bunch
sort
of
thing.
villains. I mean, we have a
Yeah.
bunch of superheroes coming together, but this is a bunch of villains
It's
as well.
like the
So.
anti-Avengers.
I just
Oh.
want to see Harley Quinn.
You just.
Oh, yeah, Harley Quinn.
Of course. What about
Uh,
Navin?
Actually, I'm very looking
Oh.
forward to Civil War as well.
Okay, okay. I think we'll have a lot of characters and Iron Man as well. There's been a lot of memes on 9gag, I see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Iron Man is going to be the villain of the story,
Mhm.
I guess, because it's going to be superheroes versus superheroes.
Okay.
Mm.
And what about you, Navin? What are you excited for?
Okay, for the recent crop of movies, I'm most looking forward to Doctor Strange and Black Panther because
Okay.
I think introducing new characters is riskier than playing with
Ah.
established ones.
Okay.
Because Civil War will be great. I mean, they already have top actors
Mhm.
who have played all these characters.
Right.
Even if it isn't up to the high standards, it will still be pretty good. I mean, Marvel has shown that they have a formula down.
Okay.
So I'm more interested in how they'll introduce magic,
Right.
like actual magic with Doctor Strange, and also how they're going to introduce Black Panther and
Okay.
how he's going to fit in with everything.
Mhm.
All right.
Another character that's a bit underrated, as we mentioned, is Captain Marvel.
Okay.
Oh,
Captain
yeah.
Marvel is coming out, but not anytime soon. It's going to be like I think 2017 or 2018.
Right. Okay.
But I'm really looking forward to that as well because she's a very cosmic superhero. She has amazing powers, and I think she's going to be the first probably headlining female character for
Okay,
Marvel. So it
right.
should be interesting.
Yeah. Then another thing about Civil War is Spider-Man is going to appear in the Marvel
Yes,
universe,
yes.
which is
Interesting.
but like a younger teenage version.
Right.
So yeah, I mean in the original storyline, a lot of things happen with Spider-Man in Civil War. So I don't know how they're going to do it, but I'm curious to see how it's going to turn out.
hmm What about Sim? I mean, apart from Suicide Squad and your Harlequin, what other movie are you looking forward to?
Actually, I'm very excited about Civil War as well because
Okay.
there's a lot of build up. Like you can see that
Mm.
the Captain America is really shock the Iron Man in the current movies. Yeah, I would like to see them both fight it out.
Okay.
It'll be exciting. Yeah.
And any comments about Thor, which is also coming up?
They haven't revealed much yet
Okay.
about Thor. I mean, if it's really with the Ragnarok storyline with the death of all the Asgard gods, that should be
Yeah.
interesting. But we haven't heard yet much about how
Yeah.
they're actually going to approach the story. So
Okay.
it's a bit too early to say.
Oh,
Right.
another thing that it's not going to be for a long time, but I'm also excited about Guardians of the Galaxy too.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be so much fun.
Okay.
I thought you were gonna
Yeah,
say Supergirl for a moment there.
Okay, that one I look forward for a different reason, I suppose.
All right, and just before I wrap things up, any underrated superheroes that you want to highlight that you think this guy should be getting a lot more credit, but it's not happening?
Nova.
Nova.
Nova. Nova is a very interesting character.
Mhm.
There have been two incarnations of Nova.
Okay.
During the Civil War that happened in the comics, there was this huge space alien army trying to invade the entire galaxy,
Okay.
and Nova was one of the few heroes who stood up against them.
All right.
And he was written very well during the series annihilation, so I think he should get more screen time in the.
Okay. And what are
mainstream.
his superpowers?
He's basically a space cop, kind of
Okay.
like Green Lantern. Like based off
Ah.
Green Lantern, but it's different. Like they have this helmet which gives them access to
Okay.
this power source.
Mhm.
So they use gravimetric beams, more pseudoscience.
Okay.
But yeah, he's pretty powerful because his entire super police force died and he
Right.
became the last Nova. So he had
Okay.
access to all the
Right.
combined powers.
Okay. What about Terence?
Well, okay, the superhero that I don't know, it's going to be a bit of a strange choice, but she's already been featured before. It's
Okay.
Electra.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. That's quite
she
some
was
time
featured
ago.
before, but very badly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I heard she's going to appear in the new Daredevil series, but
Okay.
I've always felt that I mean, she's this hot Greek assassin
Yeah.
fighter. She should have
Tight suit.
she should have a great movie, and then like
Yes.
so I feel that she's quite underrated, and I feel they should have a better
A
film
remake
about her.
of that.
A
as
remake,
well.
maybe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What about Sim? Who's your underrated superhero?
I think Angel from X-Men. He
Okay.
appeared like 5 minutes in the third movie.
Yeah, but the thing about Angel, I mean, he fly and then What else?
But I heard he'll be featured in the next story, the Apocalypse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
Okay.
Angel is one of the horsemen.
Yeah, the Horseman.
of
Mm.
Apocalypse.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that.
And Nightcrawler's appearing too, so I'm very happy.
Okay, so I think that's it for this morning. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing your insights with us. And I think we're all looking forward to the next Marvel movie as well. And perhaps we'll have another round of discussion to dissect those movies in the future. So thank you so much, Navin, Terence, and also Sim, all the way
Okay.
from Penang.
All right, no problem.